Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to another video about Phantom Brigade. Last time we took on the patrol ambush in the Underlocked Forest, one of the smallest missions in the Alpha. But this time I thought we'd take on one of the bigger, more ambitious missions that the Alpha has to offer. The current Alpha offers 3 different missions that take place in large, urban environments. These missions also feature a larger number of enemies, but allow the player to come in with a full squad of 4 walkers. Of course, in the current alpha, the player only has access to 4 default walkers, so we're just going to load all 4 of those onto the team. I also have the ability to swap out pilots if I want to, but at the moment all the pilots are essentially identical. In the final version of the game, pilots will be able to learn skills over time, which will grant them special abilities or bonuses to their performance in combat. But obviously that hasn't been implemented just yet. And there we go, the entire squad is kitted out and ready to go. Most of these guys are packing sniper rifles for long-range engagements and shotguns for close-up, but I've also got some missile launchers and an assault rifle mixed in there. And here we are at the Bjornstrom R&D facility. The first thing you'll notice is that this is a much larger map than the one featured in the Underlocked Forest. And of course you'll also notice the NPC chatter is repeating from the last mission. Like I said, it's just a placeholder right now, but it will be more dynamic in the final version of the game. You'll also notice that the walkers start much farther apart this time. Our enemies are scattered around on the facility grounds, and our squad is attacking from 4 different corners of the map. Kilo here is equipped with a long-range sniper rifle and a short-range shotgun. So I'm going to move her up around this corner here and see if we can pick off a lucky shot on one of the enemy mechs. Hopefully we can cripple one of them right away. Of course, the smarter thing to do would be to pull Kilo back and have her join up with some of my other walkers, so we can take these guys on as a group. But that's not nearly as exciting. Not bad. That burst took out its right shoulder and a chunk of its torso. You can also see that the missed shots punched giant holes in the building behind it. I've also been informed that the final version of the game will feature cinematic camera angles during the attack sequences, but again, that's just not in the alpha yet. Looks like the enemy colonel is up next, and she's got the drop on Oni. I'm not sure what kind of weapon that is. Ah, looks like it's a submachine gun. Well, that wasn't so bad. Fortunately, the submachine gun does a lot of low scattered damage. So right now it's just chipping away at Oni's armor. Unfortunately, Oni is my dedicated long-range walker. He's got a sniper rifle in one hand and a missile launcher in the other. Those are only good at medium to long range, so what I need to do is use half of his action points to put some distance between him and the colonel, and then the rest of his action points to take a shot at her. The problem here is that the colonel's only packing a submachine gun and a pistol, which are both short-range weapons, so she's going to keep pursuing Oni. So the best he can do right now is keep delaying the colonel. He might manage to sneak in a lucky shot and cripple her walker, but his main goal is just to stay alive until one of the other walkers can get over there and provide some more fire support. The first shot went into that tree, and that's just bad luck. The second shot took out a piece of the colonel's leg, though. That'll slow her mech down and make it harder for her to keep up with Oni. Next up we've got Moth. He's packing a missile launcher and a heavy assault rifle. the missile launcher allows for indirect fire attacks, so I'm tempted to have him run off into the city and start firing shots over buildings. But for now, I think he's better put to use helping out with the Colonel. There's an enemy there right over to Moth's left, but we'll try to use these plateaus as cover. And now, of course, Kilo is going to pay the price for her bold charge. Ouch. Well, that guy's packing a shotgun, so that's a lot more scattered damage all over Kilo's armor. Next up, we've got Crow. I think he's packing a sniper rifle and a shotgun as well. Yeah, so what I'm going to do with him is move up to this building over here and see if I can blind fire through it to hit that enemy on the other side. It's not really a practical move under this particular circumstance, but I just wanted to showcase that Phantom Brigade will be featuring a free aim system to allow for this sort of thing. I actually would have been better off using the sniper rifle for this, but I was hoping the initial shotgun blast would blow a hole completely through the building. And now Tango 5 is moving in on Kilo. Kilo's definitely in a bit of trouble there, but that looks like a submachine gun, so she should be fine as long as her armor keeps holding up. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Let's go ahead and have her return the favor. We'll empty her entire shotgun into this nearby enemy. Hopefully that will knock out some of his vital systems. Well, that definitely did massive damage to his armor, but it only knocked out 2 parts of his right arm. That's not going to stop him from counterattacking. It may be time for Kilo to start a tactical withdrawal. And now the Colonel is closing in on Oni again. A lot of armor damage, and it looks like she knocked out his left shoulder. Oni's too close to fire back with the sniper rifle, so we're going to need to move her back a little more. Oh, nice. Well, that damaged the Colonel's right arm, but also took out her submachine gun. That means the Colonel's only got a pistol at this point. I could keep moving Moth over there to help out Oni, but at this point I think he might be put to better use against this other unengaged enemy over in the parking lot to our left. Moth could move up and get line of sight so he could start pelting it with his heavy assault rifle, but I think this might be a good opportunity to try out some indirect fire with his missile launcher. Not bad. No serious damage, but almost 250 points of armor damage. And now we get to see if Kilo can survive long enough to run away. Oof, well, there goes her pelvis. That'll slow her down a little. Most of her left arm's gone, too. And now it looks like that guy's moving up to engage Moth. Oh, and he has a shotgun. Fortunately, Moth's armor is holding up for now, but that definitely put a big dent in it. We'll go ahead and move Crow up to see if we can lay down some fire support for Moth, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get a clear line of sight past that cliff there. Well, we can see him, but only just barely. I guess we might as well still take the shot. And unfortunately, it just didn't pay off. And now let's see if Kilo can weather some submachine gun fire. Well, she's definitely hurting. Most of her torso's been taken out, both her arms are damaged. But her legs are intact, so that means she can run. And the Colonel is still harassing Oni. Ouch. Looks like she took out both of Oni's forearms. That's going to impose a pretty serious penalty to Oni's hit chances. At this point, Oni's back is literally to the wall. I'm not sure if she's going to be able to move far enough away to get off another shot at the Colonel. But at this point, she might actually be better off focusing on that other enemy. If we can finish off that guy, then Crow and Moth can both come over here and focus fire on the Colonel. Okay, that took out parts of his legs. It doesn't knock him out of the fight, but it's a good start. Moth is already at close range, so he'll keep pouring assault rifle rounds into it. Well, once again, that's a whole lot of armor damage, but no actual component damage. Oh, but let's reload that rifle before we end the turn. And let's see what those guys do. Oh good, it looks like they're just focused on pursuing Kilo for now. If they had decided to hold at medium range and keep shooting at her, she might have actually been in serious trouble. Now this guy's going to hit Moth with some more shotgun shells. Hopefully it won't knock out anything important. Well, his head's gone. I'm not actually sure what that does. I know that's where the sensors are located, so it likely knocks out a big chunk of his accuracy, and it might have some other effects as well. Let's go ahead and bring Crow up, and we'll put a couple of shots into this guy's back. That didn't work out. I know it said it had a 0% chance to hit, but I was still hoping that we'd land a couple of lucky hits. And it looks like Kilo's other opponent has started pursuit as well. This is good news. It means that Kilo may actually be able to rope-a-dope these guys all the way over to our other walkers. Hopefully they'll be done with their opponents by then, and they'll be able to pick these guys off on approach. And of course the Colonel will continue spraying pistol shots into Oni. And there goes Oni's other shoulder. That's definitely going to hurt our accuracy. Yeah, with both the shoulder and forearm destroyed, you can actually see that Oni's hit chances have dropped significantly. Let's move up a little closer and see if that helps. Well, it did, but not significantly. At least Oni still managed to land one shot. At this point, that mech's legs are almost completely destroyed. Moth will, of course, continue pouring shots into it. At this point, most of his armor is looking pretty thin. There we go. That time we saw a whole lot of component damage to his torso and arm regions. Those guys are continuing to pursue Kilo, though it does look like they might start lagging behind a little. And it looks like this guy's been distracted by Crow. I can live with that. Crow's still got fully intact armor. Yeah, it looks like Crow shrugged that off pretty well, so let's go ahead and return the favor. And that'll do it. That barrage took out the enemy mech's arm, all of his weapons, and both of his leg motors. He's pretty much harmless at this point. And these guys are continuing pursuit, but Kilo's got a bit of a lead on them, and with them lined up like that, I think I'm going to risk having her turn and pop off some quick shots from her sniper rifle. Oh wow, that actually took out his weapon. That was definitely a lucky shot. In the current version of the alpha, that means I've pretty much neutralized that guy. But in the future, a disarmed walker will still have options. There will be a melee system that will allow for punching attacks, and there's also word that disarmed mechs will be able to pick up weapons from other disabled mechs on the battlefield so they can keep fighting. And now the Colonel's going to continue harassing Oni. Or maybe not. That was a bit odd. Well, I'm certainly not going to complain, and at this point we've pretty much neutralized that walker over near Crow and Moth, so we need to start focusing on some other enemies. Unfortunately, it looks like Oni can't navigate between these two plateaus, so let's head over here into this parking lot instead. Ooh, I hope that guy had auto insurance. Let's go ahead and ignore this guy, and we'll start moving Moth and Crow to engage the Colonel. Let's see if we can draw a line of sight here. You know what? Moth has a missile launcher. Let's just go ahead and use some indirect fire instead. Well, that definitely could have gone better, but I guess it's a start. And despite being disarmed, that walker ran right up to Kilo. The AI might actually be trying to make a melee attack there. Apparently it was just pulled out of this version of the alpha. And as I predicted, that pilot has decided to cut and run. That just leaves 3 opponents left on the field, only 2 of whom actually have weapons. Crow's got a pretty good line of sight with his sniper rifle, so let's go ahead and take a shot at the Colonel. Well, that took off her entire right arm, but unfortunately she's still got the pistol in her left hand. And that brings us to Tango 5, the only fully functional threat still on the battlefield. Fortunately, it looks like he had to reload there. I'm tempted to have Kilo hold her ground and start opening up on that last armed enemy, but that's probably a bad idea, so we'll spend all of our action points pulling her back towards the rest of our squad. That way when these guys approach, we can all open fire on them. And the Colonel's on the offensive again. But it looks like her pistol didn't make it through Oni's armor this time. And speaking of Oni, Oni's arms are pretty messed up, but fortunately the launcher doesn't really need precision. With those two enemies clustered up over there, we should be able to do some decent damage to them both. Well that wasn't... Oh, I see. Unfortunately, Oni was standing a little too close to this building, so most of her missiles were wasted blowing that big hole in it. But now that that chunk of building's out of the way, we should be able to hit them with the second barrage. Still not great, but better than nothing. Now Moth's going to move up and lay down some fire on the Colonel. Just a little bit closer. And I think her armor actually ate most of that. That mech she's in is actually holding up really well. And that guy's still clearly trying to move into melee range. Now let's see if Crow can finally discourage the Colonel from following Oni around. Oh nice, you can actually see that shot took out the Colonel's pistol. Well, that's another neutralized enemy. At this point we've only got one left to deal with. And that last armed foe just came around the building to engage us, but in doing so, he's walked himself right into the middle of a kill zone. The other guy shouldn't have a problem picking apart that last armed mech, so Kilo's going to start mopping up. Let's see if we can encourage this melee-crazed pilot to finally eject. Well, that first burst took off his right arm. And there goes his left arm. Looks like the Colonel just sprinted for cover, but she's still sticking around for the moment. And now we can start unloading on this guy. Nice, that took out one of his weapons. And that's pretty much shredded both of his arms. He's still got a weapon, but he's not going to be much of a threat with it at this point. Of course, Moth might not even end up giving him a chance to return fire. And there goes his right arm. In fact, there goes both arms. At this point, all four of our opponents have been thoroughly neutralized, but 3 of them are still on the field. Unfortunately, that does lead into one of the main drawbacks of the current build. The fights can end up dragging out a bit towards the end, because it can take a lot of firepower to encourage enemies to finally eject from their mechs, even when those mechs are entirely incapable of fighting back. But obviously this is the alpha build. That's all stuff that the developers are currently working on balancing out, and once they add things like melee or special skills, it'll be a lot less of a problem. In fact, one of the developers has even talked about how he wants there to be a pilot skill that will allow a pilot to deliberately overload their mech's power core, turning it into a walking bomb. That's the sort of thing you might see some enemy pilots do towards the end of a fight like this. But as for this fight, well, it took a couple of minutes of chasing them around, but eventually all the enemy pilots bailed out, leaving us in charge of the R&D facility. At any rate, hopefully this has given you a better idea of how things are currently shaping up with Phantom Brigade, and what the current state of the alpha is. I'll definitely be doing some more videos about Phantom Brigade in the future as the developers push out new builds. But if you'd like me to showcase anything else in the current alpha, just let me know in the comments below. But for now, this is RetconRaider, signing off. Thanks for listening. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Phantom Brigade, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website or the official YouTube channel. Links are in the description.